Let me show you how I made this print and how you can too. I started with a digital mock-up of this design, a block of linoleum covered in waterproof ink, carbon copy paper, and stylus tools. I traced and transferred the design onto the linoleum and began to carve out the parts of the linoleum that will be white on the print. You'll notice some of the lines are darker. That's where I went back over with a fine tip waterproof pen so that I could more easily see what needs to be cut out. I'm using the speedball carving tools. I bought the basic kit and it comes with a variety of different sizes, like a fine tip to carve text and letters, and a larger tip to remove big chunks of material. The carving tips are quite sharp and cut through the linoleum like butter. Even so, carving out a design like this can take hours. In the end, it'll all be worth it because you can print hundreds of copies from one single block. If you want to start printmaking for yourself, I highly recommend the Speedball Beginner's Kit because it contains everything that you might need to get started. As you progress, you can experiment with different hardness of carving blocks from extra firm to a little bit more soft and spongy. It's all down to personal preference of hand feel as you carve. You can see here I'm using the finest tip in order to get into these very intricate small spaces. Any line that I leave untouched will be printed black on the final design. While this time-lapse may make the process feel speedy, this is a 10x speed time-lapse. Here I am in real time carving out those individual lines. I'm going slow yet steady to make sure I don't carve into any of the lines that I want to print. I've carved the block in mirror image so that it prints correctly. Here I'm using the Speedball ink in standard black. If you don't have an acrylic or plastic board, use what you do have. I'm using an old pasta lid container. You only need a small dab of ink as you'll be printing your design one by one. Taking the Speedball rubber roller, I'm just spreading that ink around, going horizontal and vertical, making sure that rubber roller is completely covered with ink. You want an even distribution of ink across the roller. Then roll the ink onto your carved design. Make sure you don't miss any corners accidentally. Once fully covered, you're going to press your design onto the paper. You can use your hand, a book, a spoon, or any tool that gives you a good impression. I'm carefully pulling the page off of my print, and you can see here I might not have used enough ink or pressed down hard enough, but this was my first attempt. I'm going to pull a second print with a little bit more ink this time. Rolling and pressing. On my second attempt, you'll see I might have used a bit too much ink because the ink has pressed into the fine details of my lettering. There's also quite a few extra lines in my final print that I didn't want, so I went back and recarved those extra pieces. I've left the ink on my block so I can tell more easily which lines I want to remove. Usually you do want to wash your block in between prints or every couple of prints so you get a cleaner final design. But here, I'm printing a few tests, so I don't mind if they come out imperfectly. You can tell my design came out cleaner and sharper this time around. These prints will be available in my shop or Instagram. Thanks for watching!